Hi, I'm Coach Johnny, and this is Johnny's Kids. In a previous video, which I'll include the link for in case you want to be amused, I talked about the reasons why I coach kids. Now, I've been coaching for close to 30 years, many different sports, both genders, several different age groups. Since that video, I've talked to a lot of people as part of trying to build this channel up, and I've come to the realization that even I, after 30 years, have a much clearer idea of why I coach. And it really has some to do with the guy who coached me when I was a kid and the huge influence that he was in my life. But the truth is, it goes deeper than that. I believe that every coach should take that kind of time, at least once every season, and ask yourself, why do you do this? Why do you coach? I think that if you can really come to terms with the reality of why you're doing this, it will definitely help you understand, one, what keeps you going, and two, what it must be like to be coached by you. So what have I uncovered regarding the reasons why I coach? For the most part, there was a motivation when I first started to coach because of the man who coached me when I was a kid. In a nutshell, he took the time to coach me and my friends, even though he had no kids of his own, or at least none that were playing on our team, and had very little to gain from it. He did it out of the kindness of his heart. He did it because he saw a bunch of kids out there basically doing it wrong and having no real guidance. Or maybe on some level, he just did it because he loved the sport that much. But regardless, no matter what the reason, it had a huge impact in my life. And I always felt like I needed to pay that forward. And that may have been the reason why I started coaching, but it's definitely not the reason why I still coach. I have a 6-year-old son now who's playing. He played soccer last season, just finished basketball. We'll be starting up with football here in the summer. And as much as I love watching him play and I love coaching him, he's not the reason why I still coach. I actually had to stop and think about that and try to figure it out just for my own peace of mind, if you will. And what I've uncovered is that I find real joy in being a part of a tribe of individuals that help mold and build them into contributors to society. Wins and losses only matter to the people who like to track wins and losses, but as it relates to youth sports, it matters very little. A child, 6, 7, or 8 years old, who signs up to play a sport, more than likely has very little to no experience in that sport other than what they experience by watching it on TV. And they want to mimic that. They want to do that because that looks fun. And the last thing they need is to sign up for a sport and be lined up with some drill sergeant who is win, win, win all the time and defines success on those wins and losses. And I think on some level, for a 6 or 7-year-old, that's absolutely not the expectation. For most of these kids, all they want to do is play with their friends and have fun and learn that thing that they've seen on TV. And I think if we tap into our inner 6-year-old, we may be able to understand where they're coming from, and it may help mold how we approach the game. When I coached that soccer team that my son played in, they were not particularly fast. They lacked a lot of skills, and all they wanted to do was just to learn things. And what I found was that by removing the whole argument about wins and losses, or who scored or who didn't score, or who scored more, if you remove that conversation off the table and define success based on giving it your all and performing a technique properly, if you can get them to understand that doing that technique properly, that's success, that's winning, then you can get them on board with anything you bring to the table. They will have fun if they know that regardless of the score, they did the right thing. And that happened a lot. That happened a lot with the kids that I coached, where I would teach them something, and at the very next game or the very next scrimmage, they would perform that one thing because I was only teaching them like one thing at a time. And you could see it on their faces when they would do that. It had nothing to do with scoring, like a little dribbling technique or passing the ball one time, which when you watch small kids play soccer, it's disorganized rugby really more than it is soccer. But they would perform the one technique and you can see like it would feed them. It would make them feel like they did something good, like they did something right. And then of course, next practice, we would teach another single technique and we would build on that a little bit at a time, one thing at a time. So when we went into our first game, I think I don't even remember how many goals we scored, 3 or 4. The game was pretty close or pretty even. I lost track after the second goal, but you could see that the little things would make them so happy. That one pass that was perfectly completed, the one goal that they would score because the ball just happened to come to them and they kicked it as hard as they could and it went in. There was no goalie, so it wasn't like there was a lot of competition, but that's not how they saw it. And so I kept that fire brewing, that thing going in them, just by simply saying, success is not a goal. Success is not about winning. Success is about trying. It's about competing. And the looks on their faces, the happiness and the joy is what made me happy. And I started to realize that's why I keep coming back, because I'm teaching them that success is not about always winning the score battle. Success is about competing and being a part of a team and sharing in those moments with the people around you. They made me happy. They made them happy. The things that I try to teach my kids gets much, much deeper than that. As they get older, I start teaching them different lessons. We start talking things about dignity and integrity and compassion and empathy and how to treat each other, how not to treat others. Like, as I said to one of my kids the other day, no one is saying that you have to like everyone, but you don't have to be mean to anyone ever. You have other options. There are other ways to deal with situations. Those moments right there, those are the ones that define how this child will grow up. Because I have parents, I have family, and they would tell me things all the time, do this, don't do that, this is how you're supposed to behave. Yet, in spite of that, I remember coach would say something and all of a sudden it's like, coach said so, then it must be true. That's the kind of power you wield as a coach, and you need to be very careful with that and understand that you have the potential, the power, and the ability to create good, honest citizens by using sports as your delivery mechanism. That's what I try to do. That's why I coach. And I encourage all coaches to take that kind of time and try to figure out, why do I coach? Why do I keep doing this? Don't think about the next scrimmage. Don't think about the next meet, the next game. Don't think about any of those things. And think about it in long terms. At the end of the year, how do I define my success? Because that's why I'm coaching. Am I going to come back next year and coach the same kids? What's it going to look like in 2 years, in 5 years? Define your success so you can understand your why. And if you can get to that place, then every practice, every scrimmage, every game, every meet, every moment that you spend with these kids just becomes so fulfilling for both you and them. Take that kind of time. Figure out your why. And the rest of it will take care of itself. If you've made it this far, thank you. Please subscribe, comment, send me an email. Be a part of the conversation. Let's start a conversation. Because let's not forget that at the end of the day, it's just a game. And the game belongs to them. Have a blessed day.